Two police officers tower over a young woman at a gas station. One points his finger in her face, his voice sharp. "You're under arrest." She doesn't flinch. She doesn't speak. She only folds her arms across her chest, eyes steady, calm, unshaken. Everyone watching thinks she's powerless. But in less than a minute, they will learn who she really is. Asterisk, the heat shimmered off the pavement, the air heavy with gasoline and tension. At the center of the chaos stood a young black woman, her curls framed by the bright afternoon sun, her white shirt catching every stare. Two police officers loomed in front of her, one with his jaw clenched, the other shouting accusations that cut through the murmurs of the growing crowd. "Don't move, you're under arrest," barked the taller officer, his finger stabbing the air between them. Yet, she did not move. Her arms folded across her chest, her chin lifted slightly, her silence louder than their fury. Around her, strangers raised their phones, recording every second, too nervous to intervene but unwilling to look away. The injustice hung thick in the air. For most people, this moment would have been terrifying. For her, it was familiar. She had faced louder voices, greater threats, and darker nights than this. Behind those steady eyes lived years of discipline, sacrifice, and a kind of courage that no uniformed officer could measure. Her name was Maya. Few here knew her story. Few could guess that beneath her quiet resistance lived the scars of a soldier, a protector, and someone who had already given more for her country than most would ever know. Years earlier, she had worn a different uniform, combat boots, sand-stained gear, and the weight of duty pressing down with every sunrise. She had marched in deserts where the air smelled of dust and smoke, where every step could be the difference between life and loss. She had held the hands of frozen arms as the sound of distant fire echoed across the horizon. She had carried their names in her heart ever since. The war had ended, but the battle within had not. Returning home, she found herself invisible. To most, she was just another young woman filling her tank at a gas station. To herself, she was still carrying the weight of promises kept and sacrifices made. And so, when these officers stormed toward her, treating her dignity as disposable, she did not tremble. She stood rooted, a quiet storm in plain sight. The taller officer stepped closer, his voice rising. "Do you even understand what kind of trouble you're in?" Still, she said nothing. Her silence was not weakness, it was control. It was the kind of calm that only comes from knowing a truth no one else can see. The crowd shifted, phones tilted higher. A woman whispered under her breath, uneasy, as if she, too, felt that something was not what it seemed. And then it happened. From the edge of the crowd, a voice rang out, firm and undeniable. "That's enough." The officers froze. The man who had spoken stepped forward, flashing a badge not of local police, but of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Gasps rippled through the onlookers as two more agents approached. Moving with quiet authority, the officer's face drained of color. He stammered. She was resisting, but the agent cut him off with words that silenced everyone. "She's one of us." The revelation landed heavier than any shout could. Maya finally unfolded her arms, her expression unchanged, her dignity intact. She had let them dig their own hole, fueled by arrogance and disrespect. And now the truth stripped them bare. The crowd's silence turned into something different. Phones lowered, not out of disinterest, but because the story no longer needed to be captured on screens. It was etched into memory. One line from Maya lingered in the air, soft but unforgettable. "Strength doesn't need to shout. It only needs to stand." Another followed, a truth carved from her years of sacrifice. "Respect isn't given by a badge. It's earned by how you treat others." The officers could not reply. Their authority had crumbled. What remained was the quiet power of a woman who had endured more than they could imagine, and who carried herself with a grace that no threat could shatter. As she walked past them, the crowd parted like a tide, some nodding their heads, others simply watching with wide, humbled eyes. No apology was spoken aloud, yet the silence itself was heavy with shame. By the time she reached her car, the tension had transformed into something else: pride, and a story that strangers would tell long after. And in that moment, one truth rose above the noise. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it simply stands. Silent strength can be the loudest power of all. Maya's story reminds us that true courage doesn't demand attention, it commands respect. Where are you watching from tonight? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that honor the silent heroes walking among us.